Good evening, and welcome to the Putnam Valley Board of Education Business/Workshop meeting of May 23rd, 2018. Please join me as we salute our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to resolve, upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, to convene an executive session for one matter that may lead to discipline of one particular person.
Second.
Questions or comments? We will then resume the board meeting at that time. All in favor? Aye. Oh, wait a minute. Everyone back. Everyone back. Are we still on? Good. I'd like to resolve to convene an executive session for 8 additional matters of the employment
I
histories
thought we were
of
going
8.
to have that at the end.
That is at the end. This was not clear. Okay. We're going back to the one matter of potential discipline for one particular person, after which we will resume our regularly scheduled board meeting. Good evening and welcome back to the Putnam Valley Board of Education business meeting of Wednesday, May 23rd, 2018. And I would like first to approve the minutes. Resolve to approve the minutes for the following Board of Education meetings: March 12th, 2018, March 22nd, 2018, April 6th, 2018, April 12th, 2018, April 24th, 2018, and May 1st, 2018.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I'd also now like to announce that the treasurer's report is available in the business office. And now,
I would like to introduce the BOCES superintendent, district superintendent, Dr. Ryan, and Dr. McCarthy, Dr. Allen, the principal, and Tina McKay, who is the board member at BOCES and was a board member here in Putnam Valley, resident of Putnam Valley, and we're very honored to have Mrs. McKay here. And would you like to come up to the podium? Because we have a very special announcement to make and an award.
Thank you, Dr. Wilson. First of all, I'm James Ryan. I'm the superintendent for Putnam Northern Westchester, and I'm delighted to do this tonight.
you may not be.
And you get this right? Thank you. Good evening. I'm James Ryan. I'm district superintendent for Putnam Northern Westchester, and I'm delighted to be with you tonight to celebrate this Student of Distinction presentation. First, let me, though, take a little bit of a sidewalk here and let you know how terrific it is for us as an agency to work with your administrative team led by Dr. Wills. My work with our 18 component districts is really a fun part of my job, and there's no greater superintendent than the one that you have here. Fran is caring, compassionate. You have had one, I'll use it in quotes, incredible year here in Putnam Valley, and with the storms and other tragic events and so on, and you couldn't have a better person at the helm. And I am so impressed by Fran over the years with her knowledge of curriculum instruction and doing the right thing for kids always. And we are generally blessed to have her in this role. So I just want to
Thank
say
you.
that
Thank you
publicly.
so much.
Sure.
And you will get no disagreement from anyone in this.
No, I know that. I would also like to recognize Mrs. Tina McKay. Mrs. McKay has been a board member here on the Putnam Valley Board, but she is now the liaison to your board from BOCES. And Tina is an incredible public advocate for education and is a great asset to our board. And I just want to make sure that you know how well you're served. And she's a great asset to our BOCES and to this community. But tonight is really about Alexis Delgado. And what we would like to do tonight is talk about an extremely talented young woman who is part of our fashion design and merchandising program, and you're going to hear a little bit about what she does and how exemplary she is in that capacity. I'm going to introduce the executive principal of our tech center, Mr. Steve Lowry, and I'm going to also ask Mrs. McKay and Dr. Wills to come forward because we have a couple of presentations for our designee tonight, and we want to make sure it's done right with Dr. Wills and Mrs. McKay. So, Stephen, would you come forward?
And again, thank you everybody for allowing us to share our student of distinction, and it's a great honor to be here. So what's my time limit? Because I could go the whole time here to talk about Alexis.
We
She-
love celebrating students. Take your time.
Alexis is just an amazing young lady. When she arrived with us last year, the qualities that stood out, and the biggest quality was she was a leader. And it was clear amongst her peers that they really looked to her for guidance, for the answers, and for just general advice. And I know her teacher is very, very proud of her. The work that goes into the fashion merchandising class, if you're not familiar with it, this is a plug for us, just check out our website and take a look at the class. It's just fantastic what these kids do. Alexis tomorrow is another cheap plug, if you will. We have our fashion show, and Alexis is definitely the star of that fashion show tomorrow. So if you have nothing to do, 5 o'clock tomorrow at BOCES, we'd love to have you there. But Alexis is going to be the star of that show as well. And we're really going to miss her because, you could see the infectious smile that she has and the joy she really brings to the other students and staff. And when we were asked, who is a student of distinction from Putnam Valley, it literally took us 2 seconds to think of Alexis. She is just that amazing of a young lady. And her plans, well, if the winter down here wasn't bad enough for her, she's going to go to Cazenovia College near Syracuse, and she's going to study fashion merchandising there as well. So we're really proud of Alexis. Thank you again for sending her our way. We are better people because we got to know her this year. So thank you, and give her a big round of applause. She really deserves it.
It's my pleasure to present Alexis Delgado with Student of Distinction Certificate. This certificate is awarded in recognition for your outstanding leadership skills, academic progress, and community spirit. Congratulations.
We are always so proud to share the accomplishments of our students and your students with the local board, and we wish all the best to Alexis. I know she has a big night tomorrow, but she's done a great job with us. I know we're proud of her, and you are as well. We're joined here also by, as you mentioned earlier, Dr. Wills, Mr. McCarthy, who's our assistant superintendent, and he's also has his right hand colleague, Dr. Lynn Allen, and they're always here in support of everything that happens in Putnam Valley and in our component districts. Thanks for having us this evening. It's a great opportunity for us to step out and see you again, and that's always a pleasure for us.
Thank you.
Mr. McCarty, could we get some of those pictures for our website when anything Alexa's on is going to look good, so we certainly want to do that. So thank you so much. Congratulations.
No, we're not going to. We're going to do Erin King right next. Yeah, we're going to start. Do you want to?
Do we get to do more celebrating students?
Of
I
course.
like that part.
So we want to take this opportunity to invite two of our teachers up, and I know some of their students are going to present. I had the fortune of visiting their classroom and hearing a lot about some lessons that they were learning and getting to know some of the students, and I was so amazed by the level of creativity and the amount of work that the second graders were doing that I asked their teachers if they'd be willing to come present in front of the board and if they'd be willing to bring some of their little stars along with them. So I'll invite up Ms. Keene and Ms. Romanello to and their students to present. Thank you.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, so my name is Erin Keene. Is this on? Okay, I'm Erin Keene.
I'm Nanette Romanello.
And these are? Okay, so we're going to talk about some of the ELA activities that we've done that we've been able to integrate technology with. So we're basically going to have the students do most of the talking. So go right ahead. Wait. Oh, it comes out?
The first thing our class did was read different books from the same series. We call them book clubs. Some of the series books that our class read were Henry and Mudge, Pinky and Rex, Horrible Harry, The Magic Treehouse. Each book club read 3 books from the same series. We got to know and talk about the characters and the problems and solutions that usually happen throughout the books. I like book clubs because we all get to share our different ideas and see things from a different angle.
The next thing our teachers asked us to do was think about our opinion on the book series we read. We discussed our opinions with the people in our group and talked about what we liked and did not like. Then we had to decide if we would recommend our book series to other second grade students. We had to think about at least 3 reasons why we would or would not recommend the series. Next, each student logged into our Google Classroom. We began to form our opinions on the series that we read. We had to make sure we included a hook to get our reader interested, state our opinion, give at least 3 reasons, and end with a conclusion sentence.
Okay. So now I'm going to log into the Google Classroom that we were just talking about. So it was a shared document. Every student had a slide. So they all logged in and they were all working simultaneously at the same time. And since these students are here, Emily, Clay, and Belina, they're going to read what they wrote.
Do you like Horrible Harry? I do. I recommend this book for second graders because there are good problems to think about. You can answer a lot of questions in the story. Also, I like that all the characters have personalities, like Song Lee. Song Lee is shy and kind. Doug is more of a follower, but he is best friends with Harry, and he does big things and he's brave. Something that I don't like about the book is they have no color in the pictures. You would have painted a better picture in your mind if the pictures had color. Another reason why I don't like Horrible Harry is once they finish a chapter, they start a new story. In conclusion, some second graders may like it and some may not. I hope you like my recommendations and maybe you can make a recommendation too.
Hey, do you like Horrible Harry? Well, I don't, but I still think second graders would like it. I would recommend this book. My first reason why I recommend this book is it's funny, like when Miss Mackle pronounced Scootammer's name wrong. Or here's another example. At the square dance, Sydney closed his eyes when he was dancing and bumped heads with Song Lee. The next reason why I think second graders might like it is there's a dungeon, and they might want to see what happens in the dungeon. Another reason why I think second graders might like it is Harry does a lot of horrible stuff, so they might want to see the horrible stuff he does, like swing a garter snake in Songley's face. The next reason why is they might want to see Mr. Scootammer because they might want to see what he does to Harry. The next reason why I think second graders might like it is they might want to see what Miss Mackle does to Harry, like send him to the suspension room. Last reason why I think second graders will like it is they want to see Harry and Doug's relationship as friends, like Doug is a follower. Those were a couple of reasons why I think second graders will like Horrible Harry.
Have you ever read The Magic Treehouse? I recommend The Magic Treehouse to other second graders because the characters go on a lot of interesting adventures. My second reason is that second graders would like stories when people go on fun adventures. They could even go back in time. My third reason is that there are a lot of exciting parts, like when they saw a shark or when they saw a dinosaur when they went back in time. My fourth reason is that it is cool how there is a magic treehouse that can take them wherever they want. My fifth reason is there are a lot of animals in the stories, like when they saw a dolphin at the ocean or when they went back in time and saw a dinosaur. In conclusion to that, I would recommend this book to second graders.
Okay. So that was what they did on the Google Classroom. That was kind of like step 3, I guess you would say. Should I don't know how to. Okay, there we go. Okay.
After we finished writing our recommendations, it was time to practice. We practiced reading our paragraphs.
Some of us taped our paragraphs next to the computer so we could look at the lines while still trying to look at the camera.
Okay, so then they went to a website called Flipgrid. It's a video sharing site. And we'll just show you maybe like 2 videos. We use it a lot now that we've kind of gotten used to it. We'll ask different questions and they go on and record their answers. We did an open house one where they told their parents what they wanted them to look at when they came into the classroom. So look at this book or look at the bulletin board. So we'll show.
Henry and Mudge. I would recommend this book to another second grader because it is about a boy and his dog. My first reason is because Mudge does silly things like he puts his face in the couch and he will hide in the bathroom. My next reason is sometimes Henry whistles. My last reason is there is a rainbow at the end of the story.
Okay. We have, every student has one. We don't have to show all of them.
So we love to use this Flipgrid with the students because every student could access the curriculum. It doesn't matter if students, some find it very difficult to write their stories, get their stories down on paper, but yet when they do this, it's a whole new world opens up for them and it's so exciting to watch them. It's really amazing.
After all our classmates were finished with their videos, we had a chance to watch all of the videos. I liked watching my classmates' videos because I got to hear all of my classmates' opinions, and they helped me choose a new book series.
After watching everyone's videos, we had to decide which book series we would like to read next.
We wrote a paragraph explaining which book series we wanted to read and why.
We had to base our choices on the recommendations of our classmates. For example, I chose the Magic Treehouse series because Belina said in her Flipgrid that the characters traveled back in time, and that seemed interesting to me.
Okay, so that was the basis of our activity. As Nanette said, this has opened up a whole new world for our students being in a collaborative class. There are students, like Nanette said, who are having trouble putting things down on paper, but when they get in front of the camera, they turn into a whole new character themselves. So it's been really interesting and very engaging, we found, and so we're going to keep on using it and loving it.
I was going to ask how many years the girls have been public speaking.
Oh, yes.
Because
Aren't they
clearly
amazing?
it's
And they're
at
writing,
least
too.
5 or 10.
Yep.
Unbelievable.
Very well done. Very
Keep
well
up
done.
with book clubs,
And-
girls. I belong to 2 book clubs, and I'm old, and I love book clubs, so keep it up.
So I hope this gave everyone a glance as to why I was so impressed by what was going on. I apologize to our 2 teachers because I knew the 3 girls would steal the show here tonight. So
We wanted them
I also
to.
apologize for anyone who has to follow this act. But when we met to discuss the presentation, I was really impressed by the fact that technology was being utilized in a way that opened up doors that didn't otherwise exist, with a lesson that I think is not atypical for a second grade classroom, but what they were able to do and how students were able to access the learning and hear from their peers and collaborate is really opened up opportunities that wouldn't otherwise exist within the classroom. So certainly kudos to you guys for putting this together and putting the thought into it. I really appreciate the piece about it opening up opportunities for students who may not be as comfortable writing or much more comfortable maybe speaking, and to provide students opportunities. And I love the picture with them outside in the outdoor classroom. So again, congratulations and thank you, ladies. And
Could I, Jeannie Denike, who normally photographs us, is at a lacrosse game. So could we get a picture?
And I should mention also that Erin was recently videotaped, right, with your science?
Oh, yes.
With a science lesson for Science 22, the whole class, for Science 21. So this is something that'll be exciting for through the BOCES Science 21 program. So her classroom is becoming quite famous.
I have a question. How hard did the students lobby for their recommendation to get other kids involved in the stories they wanted?
Oh, pretty hard. We told them, to be specific. Don't say it's cool and it's fun and it's nice and it's funny. We said you have to say why you want someone to read it. So I think all 3 of these girls did a really good job of doing that, saying specific things like, about the characters' personalities or being very specific adventures and so on.
But what was amazing about that also was the fact that they were listening to one another's recommendations and they were taking it. They didn't, start with each other and say, no, you're wrong. They were really, their ears were open. They were accepting of each other's differences. So it was really very.
I've read The Magic Treehouse, but I am going to read Horrible Harry.
Yep. So we've convinced them. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good job. It is a 2nd grade classroom and not a 7th,
Right.
right? Just checking.
I like the distinction of not liking Horrible Harry, but liking the story at the
Like in
same
the
time.
story, right? Right. Sometimes you don't like a character, but you still love the story. Or you don't like it, but you think you know why other people do. And someone else said it. That was great.
We'll get the names. Yeah.
Okay. Very quickly before we move on, today was a very unusual meeting in that we convened and then broke up into executive session. And I wonder if there's people out there wondering, what's Barbara Parmley doing at the table? So I just want to, and I know that in the superintendent's report, we will talk about the vote. This meeting was supposed to be scheduled last Thursday when there were no lights in this building and no roads passing in Putnam Valley. And on that note, I just hope everybody is safe and has their power restored. But at the vote, Barbara Parmley was elected, along with Mr. Cohen being reelected to the Board of Education. But because there was a vacant seat Ms. Parmley cannot wait until July to resume her place. She must fill the vacant seat immediately. So she has been sworn in Ms. Molino's office, and here she is. So we will have an official swearing in July as part of the reorganization, but welcome to Barbara. Okay, next, Dr. Wells?
Next, we have a presentation by Mary Kay Cohen from the middle school and Joanne Burns from the middle school on the homework booster lab that we have in the afternoons. This is a very unique program in that it was developed a number of years ago through the Hope for Youth Foundation grant, and Karen Brothers was very much involved in that originally. And the idea was to provide opportunities for students after school to get extra help in a way that was enjoyable and which made them feel they were engaged and interested in being there. And in order to make this very special, we involved the students in the Honor Society at the high school. So it had this peer relationship, an opportunity for students to make connections. So tonight, Ms. Cohn and Ms. Burns are going to talk about the program and their experiences with it.
Okay. So my name is Mary Kay Cohen, and I'm here as a teacher for the middle school, and Mrs. Burns is joining me. And Mrs. McNeary could not make it tonight. She's another advisor to the Putnam Valley Middle School Homework Booster Lab. And we want to talk about how important this program is to our district, and why we might need additional funds besides the grants that we receive. We feel the program is growing, and we really would like some more teacher supervision, and that's what we're going to discuss tonight. So the objective, like Dr. Wills explained, is that we want to provide an environment for the middle school students to have a structured place where they can get support for their homework. And they do this with the help of peer tutors. So the program started, as she said, back in 2015, so it's been running for 3 years, and it's been continually funded through a grant provided by the Hope for Youth Foundation. Mrs. Brothers originally wrote the grant with the hope of connecting high school students and middle school students on building relationships between the students from both schools. So we wrote a grant again this year to apply for more funding because the program is growing. And as the program is growing, we need additional supervision by teachers. And for the last 2 years, there was one teacher supervising. Mrs. Brothers alternated with some other faculty members, and one teacher would supervise the program after school. The program runs 2 days per week. She started it in November this year. We started a little bit earlier in October, and it runs through May. And the school district provides the space to house the program, and this year they gave us some Chromebooks, a cart of Chromebooks to help provide some resources for the students. And the district also provided some funding for snacks for the students after school. We also obtained some funding from the Putnam Valley Education Foundation this year. We wrote a grant requesting some money for the program, and they're going to provide us with money for snacks for next year because with their bylaws, they cannot provide funding to pay teachers for supervising, but they can provide funding for the snacks. So they're going to help us with that next year. So some highlights of the program are that students really learn how to set goals and manage their time and use resources to study. So PV families are getting access to free tutoring from their peers at the high school, but at the same time, the high school students, they gain self-confidence and responsibility in being able to come over to the middle school and really make a difference and become role models to the middle school students. And so the building relationships between the older students and the younger students is really the most important aspect of the program, and that it's benefiting so many students. You can see in the picture, that is a picture of the all-purpose learning lab where we work, and right there, the tables are put together into tables of where 4 people could sit. But when we have a large amount of students and tutors helping us, we actually break apart the tables, we roll them around, put kids in different corners. We've used the hallway. we expand out into the literacy lab and the math lab to give students privacy and space to work. So it really is a great environment, and with that larger space, the program has really grown. So you might be wondering how many people attended. So this year we had 40 students participate in the program throughout the school year, and we did have a waiting list for students because we had to limit the amount of students we could house due to having only one teacher supervising the program for each session. We actually had 67 peer tutors volunteer this year, which I think is the most in history. We opened it up to the 8th grade students because sometimes at the high school there might be an event, an honor society induction, the play, a concert, science research projects, all things going on that sometimes high school students can't volunteer time after school. So we opened it up to the 8th graders, and they sort of filled the gap on certain dates when high school students were busy with their own events. And that's really helped out. And the 8th grade students also use that for community service to go towards their application for the National Honor Society. So how do we get recommendations for students? Our clinical staff often works with students to help improve their grades, and they connect with families. And so they sometimes recommend students to this program. We also have the RTI process at the middle school, where grade level teams meet with the administrators to come up with a plan to help students be more successful in school. And our program is often an intervention to helping a student bring their grades up, and sometimes just the mentoring from the older student motivates that student to do better in school. Special education teachers often recommend students who have trouble working independently at home on homework assignments or are not quite sure how to study for a test. So the teachers are really needed to monitor and give guidance to the peer tutors when they're working with students with special needs. And some of the problems we face is that the tutoring needs are high, so they remain constant year-round, while the volunteer numbers can vary and diminish. As the older students fulfill their community service hours and they get busy with their own responsibilities, we still have a good number of students who are needing that support at the middle school. So if the teacher supervision remains constant, then we can still closely monitor the students, we can maintain routines. And some students have attentional and behavior issues that peer tutors sometimes need guidance in handling appropriately. So we really feel that it's important to have 2 teachers supervising the program at a time. Ideally, we would like to have 4, 1 per grade level, but we know that with funding limitations, we're really pushing to add just an additional teacher this year. So just to show you some numbers, the graphs aren't amazingly clear, but the blue line is the number of peer tutors in attendance throughout the program. So you can see at the beginning of the program, there's just a few. But once the kids hear about it and what a great program it is, they tell their friends, and you can see then by November and December, we have lots of peer tutors. The blue line is the peer tutors, and it kind of goes up and down for various reasons, but you can see as the year goes on, the number goes lower and lower for volunteering, whereas the red line is showing you the amount of students that are still attending the program in hopes to get help from their peer tutors. So the teacher supervision is so important because the teachers know the curriculum, they know the teacher expectations at each grade level, and teachers can help find the appropriate resources at the school. So we're not only just supervising the middle school students and the peer tutors, but we're also modeling teaching strategies. We're training the peer tutors. So sometimes we'll show a student how to do something, and the peer tutor sort of watches us and learns from us, and then they know how to do that on their own in the next session. So we're modeling for them. And another big thing is we communicate with the parents and the teachers. So we're like the liaison between the program and the school and the home. These are the secondary responsibilities that we do that are behind the scenes. This is what the 3 of us have shared this year. If we do get the extra funding from the Hope for Youth Foundation, we would like to have a stipend for a program coordinator, because you can see a lot of work goes into designing the program and having a successful program besides just actually being there in attendance from 2:40 to 4:40 with all of the students and the peer tutors. One thing that is important is managing the attendance of the students and the peer tutors. The peer tutors actually get community service credit, and we have to verify their hours, so we have to keep accurate records and maintain and sign off on their community service hours. and yes, they've asked us to make recommendations to various things they apply for because they're doing such a phenomenal job for us, so we want to do that for them. We do have to fill out the paperwork for the grant applications and fill out reports so to keep the funding coming in. The goal sheets is something I forgot to mention that we give the students at the beginning of the session. They have to sign off and make a list of their assignments, and we train the peer tutors to check off that their homework was done with effort and accuracy. And we actually email those goal sheets to the teachers right at the end of the session so they can see who attended the program, what assignments they're accomplishing, and just to basically hold the kids accountable, the tutors accountable. So what are people saying about this? All good things. We had to get some feedback for our grant application from parents and the peer tutors and students. So I just put a couple of quotes from some of the letters and emails received. And you can see the parent one says, the one-on-one mentorship and attention he receives has helped to bring his grades up from failing every class to excelling in most. I truly love and then a peer tutor says, I truly love the aspect that as high schoolers we are able to aid younger children and help them create good homework and study habits. And then the last one is from a student. I go to homework club because I get distracted when I do my homework at home. So when I do my homework here, I can get it done and I can relax when I get home. And we want to show you a video of some of the students. I just asked them why homework helps them. And so there's a couple of quick little tidbits from the kids of why homework club helps them. And one thing they focus on is family time. And that's why this program makes such a big difference to parents, because when parents come home from work late at night, they're tired, the children are tired, and the frustration levels are high, and patience levels are low. And so when they come home and their homework's completely finished by 4 o'clock or 4:15, the parents are happy and so are the kids. And so I'm going to share a video where some of the kids talk about this. I don't know if I have to... It was set up before, but it might have got closed down. Let me see if I can get it to pop up again. One is actually a little blooper at the end of these two girls who I thought were best friends, and they told me that they never met each other before homework club. So they just met this year. And it was really great to see their relationship blossom. So Aiden, tell me. Okay, here we go. So Aiden, tell me how homework club helps you.
So I think homework club helps me a little bit more because when I'm at home, my brother doesn't really like to help me with my homework, and my parents don't get home because they're usually working and they get home a little later. But at homework club, we have good tutors to help you, and they just help me more.
Okay. So Tommy, can you tell me why homework club helps you?
It helps me because, like, my mom goes through a lot of stress while doing homework with me. It's hard, but with tutors and everything, it's much more easier to get, like, done with the homework. And also because I get to spend more time with my family.
Tell me about homework club. Why do you like coming to homework club?
I like coming to homework club because there's a lot of distractions at my house. So at homework club, I get to finish all my work and then go home and get to do whatever I want.
Oh, okay. Great, thanks. Here. Okay. These are the two girls. Okay, Grace. So you're studying for a math test today. You and Sandy.
Oh no!
Mm-hmm. She didn't want to be taped. So you guys are in the same class?
No.
Well, how do you know each other?
From homework club.
Oh, you guys didn't know each other before this?
No.
So that's pretty cool. You made a friend and you learned about
Studying.
And we had some bloopers. So basically you can see that I think the kids find it helpful. I think it's beneficial to the district for both the high school students and the middle school students, and we thank you for the opportunity to share the information with you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Can I ask a quick question? Are they by invitation? Or like anybody, a kid can't just appear?
Actually, that's a good question. Do you want to?
Yeah, that's a good question. It is by teacher recommendation.
Okay.
So it's not, sometimes we call it a club, but it's not a true club where all children can join on their own. It's really by invitation.
Right. Okay, that's what I
Because
was
we have to
wondering.
keep the numbers down, we have to know who's coming, we have to prepare for them, so it's the best way to run that. Yeah.
It's a booster lab, it's called.
Booster
Yeah.
Lab.
Mrs. Brothers originally called it the Homework Club, and because it started that way, the kids still
Correct.
refer to it as Homework Club, and sometimes we even do. But we've tried to rename it the Homework Booster Lab to take away the confusion that some parents might think it's a club and that anyone can attend. And so we kind of say it's by invite only, and we invite kids to join us, and we have a letter that goes home to the parents. So once we get the recommendations from different channels through school, then we send a letter to the parent asking them if they would like their child to join the program, and if they give consent, then they join. And
then
we have the
that
waiting list.
list, you kind of, as somebody maybe doesn't come as much, you bump
Yes,
somebody in.
exactly.
So
That's
we
how
would-
it works. It's
right.
very fluid.
We let the parents know if their children are not attending, and then, we say, oops, they forgot, and then the next one might be, we have to save this spot for somebody else later on in the future if your child's not going to attend, and just to let them know that it's run differently.
Okay, great.
And so, just so I know, the current staffing is Tuesday and Thursdays. It's 2 days a week.
Yes.
And it's for 2 hours on those 2 days a week.
Yes.
And what is the staffing there now?
So the funding covered us to pay one teacher to be supervising the program, but this year, because we had so many students and so many tutors at one time, we felt like we had to have an additional person staying. So there were a couple of the sessions where we both stayed to supervise because we just didn't feel like it was a safe situation to have just one teacher with, at one point it was 45 or 50 kids in different areas. So we feel like if we have more funding, we could definitely schedule 2 teachers every single session. That's what we're hoping for. Ideally, I would like it to be 4 teachers so that we wouldn't have to depend so much on the peer tutoring and worry about not having the support. And also I was thinking a teacher on each grade level so that you'd have a 5th grade teacher, a 6th grade teacher, a 7th grade teacher, and an 8th grade teacher, possibly opening up more days. Maybe we could have it 3 days a week instead of 2 days a week. So, with more funding, we can do more with the program. I think the program's going to grow each year. There's such a need for it, and the kids really like it.
And if you had additional days, you would then be able to slot alternating the students. You get an additional group of
Yes.
students coming in, so it's not just those 2 days.
Exactly.
And it's the same students all the time. You can actually open up that waiting list to get them.
Yes, and sometimes students have, for example, we had a couple of students that attended a mentoring program, and so on Tuesdays they weren't able to attend the homework club because they were attending a different program. And if we had it on, say, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, maybe they could have come on Wednesday and Thursday because they weren't able to come on Tuesdays. Some kids can't attend on Thursday because of a religious obligation, like after school religious instruction. So they don't come on Thursday, so they can only come on Tuesdays. So the more days we can offer it and the more times we can be available for the kids, the better it will be for the program. Because kids have after-school activities too, and so, the more we can help support, the better.
And were they across all 4 grade levels, your 45 or so
Yes,
participants?
5 through 8. And the 5th and 6th, we feel like they at first are more open to it, they're more acceptable, but this year we had an equal amount of 7th and 8th graders, and actually we found that the 8th grade boys in particular were very motivated when there was an older role model for them, and you would see them sit and do their work so seriously with like an older high school boy. It was just that whole, role model experience really made a difference in getting them motivated to do their homework.
So as someone who's had the opportunity to stop by, I would recommend anyone who has the ability to do so to stop in and check it out. It's really an impressive group of kids. And to see the looks on middle school students when they have an older high school student, they're willing to work with them one-on-one. And like you guys had mentioned, there's students in the hallway, there's students all over the hall room, there's students all over the place. But to form those relationships with positive older role models, and to have that work done before they get home. As a parent of 2 students who hate doing homework at home, I'm sure as a parent I would very much appreciate them being at something like this as well. But it is an impressive group of kids and an impressive program you guys put together. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. Thanks.
Yeah, I think the sensitivity now to some of the situations at home where parents are working very late or where there are other issues that students have and they need support. This is the kind of program that does more than, it's not just the academic piece, it's the social emotional kind of support that students get.
And we can't forget also that when students have trouble in some subjects, parents aren't always able to help their children, even understanding the current curriculum, especially in the area of math and even ELA. Some of what we expect of students is so different that is such a, I know for me as an administrator and as an administrator that works with lots of students who have disabilities, it's such a nice support to have for students who really struggle, and knowing that they're in not just any tutor's hands, but the hands of teachers who really know what they're doing and care about our students. So it's very nice.
Do we
Love
have
it.
to take it another step
Appreciate
now?
it.
Or will that be left to you? And
Well, we'll
Natalie?
have to make, now that we've heard about the program, I wanted the board to hear more about the program, and then I would like us to sit down with, we will sit down with Mary Kay Cohen and Joanne and talk about maybe
Okay.
different levels of what we can do and the costs of that and how we could manage it.
Well,
Because
would
it may
probably just
not,
come out of
yeah.
activity
Right.
and program
It
money.
could come out of
Right.
that money. And also, I'm not sure how long the Hope for Youth funding will be there. So I'd like to get a sense of what the different cost levels would be and then share that with the board.
I think it's almost negligent to not offer some kind of homework help. And today, given the curriculum, given the number of students who years ago maybe fall in that low average range that could function independently, our curriculum is such that low average students struggle, though they're average and technically not eligible for any other supports. So I really think it's something that we do have to support in a way that makes sense.
That's
for
why we wanted to have the presentation, although there was a little bit of there are a little bit of nerves there in doing it, but I think it's extremely important for the board to hear directly from the teachers about what they do. And, that sends a different message than when I report on that or another administrator does.
I'm sure the draw for parents is that our teachers are there, but I'm sure the draw for students is that the other students are there.
That's one thing I really feel is sort of makes this program special, are the peer tutors, because, it's very helpful for these students to start to make these connections and to have role models, as you put it, and to really, you have to learn that too. It's a way of being with your work that some of the students don't get until
How to identify as a
later on.
student.
Exactly.
And they're learning that from people who are 3
Exactly.
and 4 years older, who obviously have identified with being a student. Great, love it.
We should be looking at the profiles of the students as to, because since they're being referred from teachers, where are we seeing the trends as to who is being assigned to the ability or given the privilege to be part of this, and see if it's kind of a precursor to what interventions can be done earlier if we've got some sort of idea of who is commonly able to take these additional resources.
Keep us posted. Thank you, ladies. Keep
Thank
up
you
the good
very
work.
much. Well done.
Kids excited about homework is not something you see very often. Okay, awesome. You had to twist some arms, Doctor?
No, it's just, it's not accustomed to
They're clearly not second graders, because our second graders have absolutely no
it.
problem.
No, absolutely fearless.
Okay. All right. So is this the explanation of the 2017-18?
I think Maureen has that.
Okay.
It's on the agenda, so just to explain to the public what it is, Westchester Putnam School Board Association. Mr. Cohen, would you like to explain that?
Sure. Our second motion tonight is on the Westchester Putnam School Board Association. Their offices come up and their budget comes up. This is a unique group. It is made up of members from all the different school districts in the lower Hudson Valley. And it basically serves as an organization which assists the boards. It actually assists the board. It goes over policy changes. It interprets things that the state does. It sends us information about the state. It runs courses for new board members and for senior board members. So it's an organization that supports us. So indirectly, it supports our children, but directly, it supports us. And it's an unbelievable organization for what they do for us.
Okay. All right, so we do not have any student reports tonight. We do have a PTA, PTSA representatives report.
Hi, good evening. My name is Christina Casey. I'm corresponding secretary for the Putnam Valley PTA. On May 8th, the PTA hosted a teacher staff appreciation luncheon for all elementary school and middle school faculty and staff. The luncheons were a big success, and our teachers were grateful for the delicious food. The personalized notes from students decorating the faculty room walls were a wonderful surprise for our teachers. We want to extend a special thank you to our generous families who submitted donations for the luncheons. We received so many donations that we were able to provide both the elementary school and middle school faculty with a coffee and yogurt bar breakfast later on in the week. We have some exciting events coming up sponsored by Arts and Education. On May 25th, we have Mr. Fish Phenomenal Physics performing for our 5th graders. On June 1st, we have Medieval Manners for our 6th graders. We have the Jester Gym Show on Friday, June 1st at 6:30 p.m. in the elementary school auditorium. This event is for all elementary school and middle school families, and it's not your ordinary juggling show. Jester Gym was voted Best Family Show by Entertainer America, and this event is free. Snacks and drinks will be available for purchase. Please note that this is a family event, not a drop-off event. Parents and guardians must accompany their children for this. We're also looking for donations and volunteers for our 4th grade moving up ceremony on Tuesday, June 19th at 10 a.m. After the 4th grade moving up ceremony, there will be a small reception in the auditorium for 4th grade families, 4th graders and their families. In order to make this a memorable milestone for our 4th grade families, we're asking for our 2nd and 3rd grade families to volunteer. To sign up for donations or volunteering, please complete the Google form that was sent out via email and on our Facebook page. Save the date for our spring fundraiser. We will have our first ever pocketbook bingo fundraiser on Saturday, June 9th from 6:30 to 9:30 p.m. The cost is $35 in advance and $40 at the door. It includes 10 bingo games. We will have raffles and a 50-50 raffle and a cash bar. Some of our designer purses so far include Michael Kors, Coach, Kate Spade, Dooney and Bourke, and Vera Bradley. We have a fundraiser with the Hudson Valley Renegades. Join us on Thursday, June 21st, as the Renegades host the Vermont Lake Monsters at 7:05 p.m. The package is $14 and includes 1 ticket and 1 hat. $3 of every purchase goes back to the Putnam Valley PTA. You can purchase online at gadesgroup.com, password PVE, and also this information is posted on our website and Facebook page. To purchase tickets or volunteer for any of the events mentioned tonight, or to volunteer for upcoming events, please sign up through your PTA account at www.putnamvalleypta.org or email us at info@putnamvalleypta.org and like our Facebook page for more information on upcoming events. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
I will be at the pocketbook bingo event. Dr. Wills is poking gentle fun at me, but love a good pocketbook. And a chance, of course, to support the PTA. Yes. Okay, curriculum report, Dr. Jeremy Luft.
Thank you. So the district is currently working on updating our district technology plan to comply with state guidelines. I just wanted to give everyone the heads up that part of this plan will be an outreach to students, staff, and parents via survey. We'll use the results for this survey to help guide what our goals will be, part of our new technology plan. So the technology plan will be updated over the summer, but we hope to collect information from all constituents throughout the spring and use that data for a small committee to rewrite the plan, which is up for renewal this year through the State Education Department. Our Self-Sustainability Committee will be presenting at our upcoming Superintendent's Conference Day on June 25th. They'll be working with teachers over the summer, facilitating summer curriculum work, and they'll be participating in our Innovative Classroom Academy. The Innovative Classroom Academy has notified its teacher participants, and we have meetings scheduled on June 26th, August 28th, and 29th. The committee members will be reading 2 books. The first, Space by Bob Dylan, and the second is Shift This by Joy Kerr. The Space book talks about ways to really redefine classroom space to support students with varying learning modalities. And Shift This is really about taking a modern approach to a very traditional education system, providing students with things like choice, and finding ways to engage students in relevant problem-based learning. So those will be some texts we'll use throughout the year to help guide our work, and the teachers are really looking forward to really working with each other throughout the next school year. We were afforded the opportunity to participate in a blended learning curriculum development opportunity. This is a regional grant that's being applied for through PNW BOCES. So if we're accepted as grant recipients, we hope to identify a teacher who will spend really the next 3 years, 1 year, developing a course with guidance through Putnam Northern Westchester BOCES. And second year, they will be implementing the course only to Putnam Valley students. And the third year was really about revising the curriculum based upon what's happened and feedback from the first cohort of students. Ultimately, the course can be offered as a regional offering through Putnam Northern Westchester BOCES OC21 program. But for now, it would be offered in-house in a blending learning environment, but provided by a Putnam Valley teacher for only Putnam Valley students. Dr. Wills and I had the opportunity to participate in an exhilarating ESSA accountability training that took place for 2 days down in Mount Vernon. It was actually very interesting. What the state did with its transition to Every Student Succeeds Act, away from No Child Left Behind and Race to the Top, is they took our previous year's data, they used the 15-16 data, and they applied the new accountability metrics to what was technically old data. But it was a great way for them to explain the logic behind the new accountability measures, and then give us a sense as to if they were in a place during the 15-16 school year, how we would have performed. So I must admit, I was not looking forward to spending 9 hours in Mount Vernon listening to state education representatives. It was actually pretty interesting material, and I came back with a lot of information that I can share with my colleagues. I just wanted to take this opportunity to acknowledge some of the things that have transpired since we last met, or at least my last report. I wanted to acknowledge the perseverance of our students through their testing season. I wanted to acknowledge the varying student performances across all cultural arts fields. Our student athletes, I know baseball unfortunately lost today, and girls lacrosse is playing right now, track and field this weekend, and boys lacrosse lost last night to Bronxville. I want to acknowledge teacher appreciation. I know recently Teacher Appreciation Month and week and day had passed, but I especially wanted to recognize our elementary faculty and staff, and even more so our 4th grade team, who really have been stepping up in an absence of one of their colleagues. Having met with and spoken to many of those 4th grade teachers, they're really going out of their way to make sure that the students know no different, that everything that would have occurred will still occur, while I know their hearts are somewhere else. So I know that Katie's improving each day, but I really wanted to acknowledge the work of the elementary school under the leadership of Margaret and Jeanette, all the faculty and staff, but specifically the 4th grade team, for ensuring that there's no ill effects for the students there. I wanted to acknowledge the successful vote passing. I wanted to welcome Barbara Palmy, and I really wanted to recognize the district staff who worked in not necessarily favorable conditions, sometimes by light of cell phone, as they worked to ensure that the polls stayed open, that it was a safe environment, that people had access to the facilities, that there was lights, that the machines kept running, And it's both the polling workers, the custodians, the members of the technology staff, having been there to see everyone chip in and do whatever was necessary to make sure that the job was done and that the polls stayed open was really something impressive to see with not the best conditions outside. And then I wanted to acknowledge the work of my administrative colleagues. From the time that event happened, from group text messages to emails, the administrators were able to develop a communication plan, reschedule events, reschedule AP assessments, all while ensuring that all staff and students were safe. So I think my cell phone usage might have exceeded my limitation and that one day, but it was really impressive to see the large number of people coming together, people willing to turn their cars around. I think Natalie almost got caught in a tornado between buildings, ended up at the Children's Center helping students who were scared when the power went out. It was really an impressive showing of very capable people doing whatever was necessary to support students in Putnam Valley, so it was very nice to see. And finally, I wanted to acknowledge Ms. Doherty for successfully defending her dissertation proposal last weekend. Yeah. Our upcoming Superintendent's Conference Day will be focused on well-being, and it'll be focused on the well-being of our schools, of our staff, and our students. We're building agendas for the day, and it'll be an exciting opportunity. And as you can imagine, everyone is thrilled to come back in for a day they were not planning on working. So we are trying to keep that in mind, but at the same time, making sure that it's an educational day for all. On a facilities update, our EPC work is ramping up, lights are being installed, and I can see the men out there preparing to rip up our field for the geothermal wells. A fence is being installed at the elementary school backfield. Luckily, not a day earlier, where there would have been trees through it, so their timing was impeccable. There's actually more room to install the fence now in some areas. The Facilities Planning Committee will be meeting again in June. We hope they really have a finalized vision, and we'll begin to talk about how to get that information out to the community. I was recently in a meeting with members of the state state transportation office, and they were talking about proposed improvements to Peekskill Hollow Road. I know it's something we've heard a lot about. Specifically, those plans, as we're told, include both right-hand and left-hand turning lanes into the middle school, high school campus. So that'll be very exciting. The rumors of the sidewalk coming all the way up to the school are not so. The sidewalks will only be installed at the four corners and certainly not all the way up to the school. And then today I had the unique opportunity to participate in a meeting again with the State Transportation Authority to discuss the proposed bridge over Pudding Street. So that, from my non-expert eyes, looks to be a reality, and they hope to begin their construction in 2019, in the beginning of 2019, and complete by sort of the end of 2020. So we had a great opportunity to hear what the plan was, what the phases are, be able to plan for the impact it'll have on our buses and our ability to pick up students. And myself, Jill, Dave, and Mike were all present at the meeting, and I know that the information was well received by us, and I could already see Dave and Mike starting to formulate plans for how we're going to make sure we get all the students to and from school in the appropriate time. So that being said, we decided they don't deliver the bridge via helicopter overnight, which would be very useful, but they really went out of their way to have as little impact as possible on the school district in the time of the year that had as little impact on the school district as possible. That being said, you can't build a bridge overnight, so there will be closures, and it will certainly be an inconvenience, but a welcomed improvement to that intersection when it's done. On safety and security, buildings are completing their full-day trainings with Altaris, and we have a whole faculty presentation scheduled for June 25th during our Superintendent's Conference Day. And we recently had a Citizens Advisory Committee meeting, which we had great conversations both around safety and security, as well as curriculum and instruction. At the elementary school, we got to participate in one of my favorite events, the Elementary School Community Read. I was lucky enough to be invited last year prior to actually being an employee here. But this year, being able to, again, go into a classroom and read to students and ask questions. I know that many of those readers from outside of the district who came in say that it's one of their favorite days of the entire year. That was when some people were leaving the building hours later, right? They were really, really into the reading part, where I think they just stayed in the classroom. Their elementary school also had their character education committee planting day. The middle school is still in the process of designing their new schedule, which will be implemented next year. The new schedule includes new content blocks. The administrators there have been working hard with teacher leaders across grade levels and departments to make sure that everyone's aware and people have an opportunity to weigh in and provide any feedback they have. I know groups have begun visiting other middle schools in the area who use similar block schedules with opportunities to both observe and speak with teachers. So I just want to acknowledge all the work that's going on there, both by the administrators and the teachers, in making sure that happens in the best interest of students. I had the opportunity to observe an E&L class today at the middle school. I was really taken back by the level of engagement the students presented, their eagerness to participate, and their willingness to read aloud in front of their peers, something that we may stereotype E&L students not being comfortable doing. All the students, in fact, in this case, 3 male students, were more than willing to read aloud in front of each other, and it was really impressive to see. I also want to acknowledge the teachers' focus on making connections between the content and the students' personal experiences. At the high school, we recently had the ribbon cutting at Studio 116. And there's a committee of teachers that are working on establishing a seal of biliteracy, which is something we'll certainly present on in the future, but it's a tremendous opportunity for students, especially some of our E&L students, to receive an extra credential for graduation. And last night I attended our science research symposium, which never fails to make me feel not that smart. But one of my main takeaways is when a student who knows such a complex topic so well that they are able to explain it to someone like myself with such detail that I actually understood the research is impressive. There's been many of times where I've sat there and just shook my head to not look foolish, but last night I felt as if I could present some of the boards that the students did such a fabulous job explaining it to someone like myself who knew very little about the topic. So it's always an impressive feat. And again, kudos to all of those students involved in science research.
We are busy in Putnam Valley.
Yeah.
Did he leave you anything, Dr.
Well,
Wills?
He left me with the feeling that, we're very grateful to be here and to have been involved in seeing and observing many of these things. There are a few things I would like to mention, and I'd like to show some videos that I have of some of the things, so we can see some of the things that are going on, that are happening. I do want to mention, Dr. Luff did talk about the schedule at the middle school, and at the next board meeting, Travis will be here to talk about the schedule that they're creating. And also at that next meeting, we will have some of our students of Mandarin Chinese do the presentation that we saw in their class. They actually, I would like the public to see what they've learned in a year and be able to give a benchmark presentation, like a capstone of the way they have been able to learn to read Chinese. And I was so impressed, I said, I think we need to show this to the public and to the board to show what they're doing. I'd like to mention, before I show the videos also, that I was going to go and I couldn't make it, but the Peers Influence Peers Partnership had their 25th anniversary, and J.C. Ferraro was the screenwriter for their documentary. And this is exciting that one of our students was the screenwriter. So I hope to get to see this documentary and that others will get to see it. Mr. Reale did mention that he had a DVD that I could see. I did want to also say a couple of things just about that day of the storm, which was not predicted to be what it became, but it was a horrendous, devastating event in this community, no doubt. And again, I want to reiterate the fact that every one of our campuses, all of the buildings were covered, that, Natalie and Jen Bruno were at the elementary school with the Children's Center students and, some of the students from our school who were in the program with Jen in the Makerspace. And they were there for quite some time, waiting for parents to come. And every last student was safely there. And it should be noted that our students were affected by the tragedy we had in March. And so this was particularly difficult for students, the little ones. So we were very grateful that all of our buildings were covered with by administrators. Nicole was at the middle school. I was with her. She was already in charge when I got there, and everything was very orderly.
If I could just jump in, I have to say, I was at the elementary school within 3 minutes. I heard that noise and I thought, oh my God, we have kids at the after-school center. When I went over there, the staff from the Children's Center had already had them in a shelter-in-place position. Were comforting them. They were safe. They were being comforted. And they took every single precaution that one could take, but while maintaining comfort for the children. It was really impressive.
And I think there was food from the election.
that I sent them, and they told me I was a great cook, and I took credit.
Everybody took care of everyone. At the middle school, we had a number of athletes. The storm was so severe that it was difficult, Brian said, to open the door of the middle school to get, and everybody did get in, and they were safe. And then I contacted the superintendent from Haldane because they had a bus there that was going to take these Haldane students who were athletes in our field back. And I called her and said, I think we ought to wait and make sure that there's a way back and that it's safe. And we provided food, and they were all in the shelter area of the school, in the corridor. It was one of those tests, but we're so fortunate that everything went well. But it's thanks to everyone in this community. I still, when I was calling Maureen and hearing about the batteries and how they found battery lamps, Dr. Luff mentioned that there was a battery lamp that would belong to, I think, Margaret, and brought into the election site. So it was quite a night, but yet everything went very, very smoothly. And at that election site, everything was running as it was supposed to run. So it was quite amazing what was accomplished. I also wanted to share some really wonderful news about our transportation department, our own buses. We received 100% inspection rating, which is, you can't get better than that. And we have a mechanic who's remarkable, Ray Stilson. These are the unsung heroes in the district. People who are doing incredible work behind the scenes to make sure everything is safe. Another person, another aspect of the department that we have in the facilities department was an affirmation that Pat Bellino received from the food pantry, where Pat Bellino quietly had developed this parking situation for the food pantry on the weekends so that people could park in dignity in the parking lot rather than having to roam the street to get into the food pantry. And these are the kinds of things that we do in partnership with the community that are quite powerful. Another person I want to mention as an unsung hero is Michelle Riley. She is a monitor at the elementary school who has taken upon herself to develop a really wonderful recess program for our students. One that's very well organized, that sees to it that students with different interests and needs have fun out in the playground. And it's a pleasure, if you're ever at the elementary school, to look to see how these students have activities that are healthy and that are, her design. She's worked with the monitors to create this wonderful program. Today we also had a tree planted at the high school, and we're going to, I'll go to it, yeah, you can find it, by one of our students in the Journeys program, Alexis Delgado, sorry, that was Alexis. Wayne DeRosa was one of the students in the Journeys program, and his project was to have a tree planted with a plaque in honor of our first responders, in honor of the school district, those who were part of the school district, who were students of the school district, and from the town of Putnam Valley, who served in the military, or who served as first responders. So we now have a tree with a plaque that this Journey student created in honor of those members of our community and our school district. I also want to mention that Theater Works, with 4 nominations in the Metro Awards coming up next week, and some other pieces that I wanted to show you were some pictures. Maureen, would you show them before I do the videos? From BOCES, you know, we sometimes don't hear, we'll start with this. Let's start with this. I'll start with this one. This is Sarah Broas at the International Science and Engineering Fair. And I don't know if you've seen this picture, but, you know, she was there in this, and when Mr. Zupan talks about this amazing place with 1,100 students from around the world, and we were there, and she won a second prize, which includes having your name, having an asteroid named after you, which is pretty amazing. So this is quite. There was another picture too. Yeah, this is the welcome to the quad for ISEF, and she was there, and very exciting moment. Let's see. These are also some photographs from BOCES. Sandy Intrieri, the principal, went to the BOCES Honor Society and saw some of our students there who were also given awards. We saw Alexis Delgado, and we also had Corinne Zastrenchik, who also won an award, in this case for video, for her work in video. So these are BOCES scholars. So next, I wanted to show you a couple of videos. They are all about the middle school. And next thing we'll have Travis here, and you've met Nicole talking about the middle school. I think that you see this here, tested about it. It's a wonderful place, and that more has been done this year to transform our middle school. Ideas, a new way of looking at what we do. So I asked Laura Sherwood to put together a video of just the walls, what's on the walls when you go in. What do you see? How does this represent us? And I think you'll see that it gives every student a place, a way to identify him or herself. And that is what middle school is about. It's about each student identifying strengths, identifying a way for them to be in the world, and as you go through the school, that's interesting. I asked that the public has a chance to see what's inside that middle school was the way we marked the Margaret Stone of Douglas at the middle school, having students walk up and ask another student about themselves, creating those connections that we know are the real way to create safety. As Dr. Luft talked about Altaris, our work with the safety organization, who happen to be retired police officers who are working with us on our safety procedures. So much of the safety is about making connections with other students. That's what this is about. Knowing every student, collaborating, No student should feel alone. Every student should have a partner. And it should also be fun. School should have opportunities for fun and for working as teams and as groups. And I think we see a vision for our middle school that's very much about being together. That's, you know, the homework club, for example, that we heard about earlier as well. And now they're also planting a garden at the middle school so that they'll have vegetables as part of the sustainability project. Do what's right, not what's easy. And I think that sums it up. This is what we're trying to do. So I have one other video that I want to show the public about, you know, we ask people to vote on a budget, and we're going to talk about that. But we need to make sure everyone knows what we're doing, why we're doing it. So these opportunities for reporting on what's going on in the school, when Dr. Luff talks about the school, or Ms. Doherty talks about the schools, having up teachers here, we have to show and demonstrate how important this educational process is. And so here's another incredible thing that happened at the middle school. And you heard about the ENL program. And Angela is our teacher who has created, Angela Methens, who has created some wonderful opportunities for students, including this international dinner. We had over 100 people at this dinner. And each of these families brought their food, there were little placards as to what the country was, the origin of the food, the kind of food. There was this sense of gathering, of togetherness. And there were these passports that each student got, and when you ate a certain food, you got stamped to say that you were at that country. And again, this is one of those community events that pulls people together and helps us appreciate the differences and the sense of solidarity that we have as a community. So, you know, as I mentioned, a budget is about numbers, the vote is about numbers, but it represents something very, very significant. And it represents the strength of our community. So I wanted to make sure that we had a chance to at least talk about, hear about, and have a chance to experience the wonderful opportunities that are offered for our community to be together.
Because I just want to add to that when you said that the middle school is working on the making children realize that they are not alone. Jean Marie Cron carried that into the vocal concert by inviting teachers and members of the community to be part of that and sing, join the students in the song, "You Will Be Found," from Dear Evan Hansen, which is a very popular Broadway play that is dealing with the sensitive issues of feeling isolated and feeling alone and teen struggles. No one ever asks me to sing, and they did, so I'm delighted for that reason alone. But the feeling that I was a part of a community that cared for the kids and looked on the kids' faces when we started appearing from the audience was really incredible.
And you know, the Science Research Fair last night was also about that. We had all of these adults from the community and the young people, and they were all looking at the science research projects on the posters and asking questions and having this dialogue with the students and really understanding just how much our
School really
students
isn't
know
just for the
and
kids. It's for the community,
yes,
it's for the
community.
parents.
And to feel proud and to feel good about what's happening in the schools.
I'll give a quick public service announcement. I just wanted to give a score update that the girls are currently losing 9-6, but there's still 14:55 left in the game.
That's a lot of
So they're
game.
close. Maybe we were down big early, but they came back and tied it. But that's just a quick score update.
They like us biting our nails. They do this rather often, so. Okay. All right, just, because I'm afraid I'm going to forget at the end of the agenda, I want to add to public service announcements, the Putnam Valley Education Foundation, who was mentioned earlier today in terms of supporting a grant for the Homework Booster program, has their annual fundraiser Friday, June 8th, 7 p.m. to 12 a.m. It is a casino night, and it is usually very well received and a great deal of fun and well attended. I encourage you to look on the website. There's a link to the Education Foundation under Parent Resources on our website. It is the day before the Pocketbook Bingo, so there's a lot that you can do that weekend to support our schools. But it is a lot of fun. I would recommend it highly. And now we are moving right along to new business.
Before you go there, and I know this is redundant, but I didn't get a chance with all of the events that happened after the vote and the storm. And I just wanted to make sure that that I thank all, and I'm sure it's on behalf of everyone else, thank all the district and business office staff members and their total contribution to the budget process and help with the preparation of it. Specifically, I want to thank, Jeannie Denike and Maureen Peterson for their important messages during the newsletter preparation for the budget. And I also want to make sure that I compliment the dedication of the vote workers as well, the custodial staff, and all of the help that they provided that day. I was thankful for the opportunity to be able to present at, the principals made it possible for me to present the budget at faculty and staff meetings. The Citizens Advisory Committee, contributed to the budget preparation. We visited the senior center, the town hall, had us at their meetings to make sure that we got the word out about the school budget, and I think that was very important. So again, I just wanted to thank everyone for all of that.
Okay. So, speaking of the budget, that's a perfect segue into new business. Mr. Ferraro.
Resolved by the Board of Education to accept the final vote tally for the budget vote and board election held on May 15th, 2018 as follows. Proposition 1, budget, yes, 352, no, 178. Proposition 2, buses, yes, 329, no, 196. Board of Education, Barbara Parmley, 417, Guy Cohen, 374, write-ins, 16.
Second.
Questions or comments? I just think Jill did a great job at thanking all of the members of the staff and the voting staff that day. I want to thank the members of the community. It was a challenging day. Our voter turnout was very, very similar to last year's, almost identical. So nothing stops people in Putnam Valley. So thank you, everybody who came out and voted and had their voices heard regardless of how you voted, that you show that you care about our schools and about our community. So thank you very much. All in favor? Aye. Number 2.
Resolved to approve the WPSBA 2018-19 nominating committee slate of officers and members of the Board of Directors as per document number 185/18 and the 2018-19 proposed budget as per document number 186/18, and authorize the Board of Education President to sign the WPSBA annual meeting ballot. Documents and ballot attached to the agenda and official minutes of this meeting.
That's you.
Questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Number 3, Ms. Parmley.
Resolved on recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools to appoint Crystal Michaels to a 4-year probationary term as a teaching assistant, commencing on May 8th, 2018, and terminating on May 7th, 2022, in the teaching assistant tenure area on Step 1, prorated, of the CSEA salary schedule, and in accordance with the PVCSD policy 9250. Ms. Michaels holds teaching assistant level 1 certification.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Number 4.
Resolved on recommendation of Superintendent of Schools to appoint Megan Smith-Usen to the position of athletic trainer effective July 1st, 2018, and authorize the Superintendent of Schools to enter into a non-durational term and conditions of employment agreement with Ms. Smith-Usen, referenced in the minutes of this meeting as document 200/18.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Number 5.
Resolved on the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools to appoint
Badria.
Becky Lulana to a 26-week probationary appointment effective May 29th, 2018 through November 29th, 2018, extendable to May 29th, 2019 as a cleaner at the middle school on Step 1 of the CSEA salary schedule.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Number 6.
Resolved on recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools to appoint Ariana Brimon to an 8-week long-term substitute position as a general education teacher at the elementary school, effective April 24th, 2018 through June 22nd, 2018, or sooner at the discretion of the Board of Education. Effective May 24th, 2018, Ms. Brimon's rate of pay will be increased to $125 per day. Ms. Brimon holds childhood education 1 to 6 and students with disabilities initial certifications.
Second.
Questions or
Yeah,
comments?
I just want to mention that Ms. Bremon came in the 4th grade and has been a wonderful support and asset to the children in the class, with working with Ms. Roth, and she has really taken hold of the experience in the classroom, the positive environment in that classroom. So she's an excellent choice to lead that class.
Excellent.
Co-lead the class.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number
7.
7. Thank you.
Resolved on recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools to approve the memorandum of agreement between the district and the CSEA to extend and incorporate the provisions of the collectively negotiated agreement between them that will expire on June 30th, 2019, into a successor agreement effective July 1st, 2019, and terminating on June 30th, 2020, as per document 201/18, attached to the agenda and official minutes of this meeting.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Number 8.
Whereas the safety and security of our students and staff is the single most important responsibility of our school districts, And whereas with the increasing instances of threats and serious incidences in schools across the nation, school districts are faced with funding extensive new safety initiatives. And whereas trained, uniformed, armed school resource officers have played an instrumental and life-saving role in neutralizing and resolving serious incidences in schools, and whereas the wide range of social, emotional, and mental health needs of students are constantly increasing, adding additional financial burdens and becoming daily responsibilities of public schools, therefore be it resolved that the Putnam Valley Central School District employs the New York State Assembly and Governor to partner with the New York State Senate and immediately improve the Senate's Protecting Our Schools legislation that provides desperately needed resources and funding for the safety and security and mental health support for schools across our state.
Second.
Questions or comments?
There has been, the state senate has passed legislation to attempt to assist schools in providing for the safety and security of our students, which we have been seeking and working to do. As I mentioned, we have this contract with Alteris and working with our county on school resource officers, our need for, support for students' mental health and emotional health. And this funding resource that the Senate is presenting I say could because we don't know the details of this, but it could at least start the state in this path of providing additional aid for this purpose. As you know, this year the foundation aid was very, very weak for schools, and we do need help if we're going to be doing more to protect our students, as we intend to do.
Absolutely. All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to the consent agenda. Number 1.
Resolved to approve consent agenda items 2 through 15 as appears on the consent agenda portion of this agenda.
Second.
Questions or comments?
We're approving 4 additional people who worked at our school budget vote. We're approving CSE, CPSE placements. We're approving the transfer of some monies to cover the cost of tuition for students who are taking college courses through Dutchess Community College. We're transferring money to cover a new lawn tractor that we need for the grounds. And we're approving days without pay for 2 employees. We're approving an amended contract with our bus company, and the amendment is just talking about they're changing their name. We're approving a contract with an organization that will be providing occupational services for our students and a whole bunch of other services. I won't go through reading the 15 services. We're approving a contract with our architect firm to start the replacement of our windows at the East School and Middle School to make them more weather and efficient. We're approving an agreement with Bollinger Group for student accident insurance. We're approving CFE consulting agreement to look at our stormwater compliance maintenance. We're approving an agreement with the bond council to help us come up with the bus bond. We're approving additions to the substitute tutor list. We're approving a health and welfare contract with one of our students who goes to Haldane Central Schools. We're approving 13 summer workers to assist with the collection of laptops. These are really students who will go at the end of the year and pick up all our laptops that we give out. And finally, we're transferring the ownership of our computers that have 0 value, all our basically old computers, to a company, Hudson Regional Informational Center. And they will get rid of the computers for us and make use of them.
Okay, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to open it up to contribution for the public at this time.
I'm going to make it real quick. I just want to follow up on Jeremy's information about the science research thing. He finally understood what they were saying. I never got to understand it, even though they took a lot of time and talked to me. But what I want to impress you people with some of the titles, which is just unbelievable. 1, development of decellularization peppermint leaf functionalities, biometric scaffolding for cardiac treatment engineering. The frequency and duration of salt intake of horses. The use of social media as harmful coping mechanism dealing with strength. Effect of solar panels on rockets. Talking about young children talking And did they walk first or did they crawl first, and how early they talked? How to make a biofeeder evolutionary pattern for the blood, determine how to optimize plastic that we use in our cells, how to make it so it's more disposable. It was just unbelievable, the work they did. And there was just one last one I wanted to read you, the title, because I still find it so difficult to read. The possible correlation between mitochondrial DNA and trinuclear repeats and the onset age of Huntington's disease. This is research that our students are doing. It was just phenomenal that evening. And in the 2 hours that I had the opportunity to talk to them, I got to see only 5 of them. And I had to move very quickly to get through those 5. It was just phenomenal. And the other nice thing, Nick Albano, our former student, spoke to him, who's a doctor and researcher. He also communicated about some of his work. It was just an amazing, amazing evening.
So sorry I missed it.
Yeah, that was amazing. I'm glad you mentioned that guy, that speech by Nick Albano. He one of our students who is doing work on amputations and how to work with the nerve endings so that the pain of the amputee is lessened, which is significant. And of course, with the current wars where we have all of the IEDs, these explosive devices, amputations are frequent, and today more people are living because of medical advances, but the pain and the suffering associated with that is significant. So here we have one of our students doing, our former students doing this incredible work. He's an MD, and he's at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Of course, that's my school of, it's where I'm an alumni. I went to Madison for my doctorate, and it's an incredible research institution, so.
And Nick was in our second graduating class, so he was the first year of the building opened, he was one of the 8th graders in here, so he sort of, represents what this building has done and where those older students are now. So it's amazing. Okay.
I had a question about the 2 days that we were closed.
Yes.
About the issue of, what's the issue with the 180-day issue?
We are in the process of writing a waiver, and Jeremy's working on that with Jill, so that we will be funded. We hope we will be funded for those 2 days. There's a process you go through.
Yeah, it's just a separate form we submit as part of our state aid for submissions for the year. It's just a separate form that we have to fill out. We already have the form and all the information. It's not a letter. We thought we were going to need to send a sort of detailed letter. It's more of just a spreadsheet where we identify the days we were closed, the reasons why we were closed, and they take that into consideration when they decide whether or not it's a grant or a waiver.
And what we have to prove is that we used all the days we could, which we did. And there was no other day. In fact, the day after the rating day, the Monday, is an unusual, unusual opportunity by the state to make up a day. So we had used that day, and then.
And we had just communicated that to all faculty and staff, so there was no confusion. There's no other recourse to get days back towards the 180 after the one exception they already granted us, which is the June 25th conference day. So there was rumors swirling whether we can go to school on Memorial Day, which is not legal, or whether we had to go to school on the 26th and 27th. So I wanted to make sure that we squashed any of those rumors, that there is no, if we can take those days to get our 180, we would, but it's not an option. So we have no other option but to file the waiver paperwork and hope for the best.
And actually, Carmel schools were closed another day because they had such a severe storm response.
Just an update, the girls with 12 minutes left are down by 1 goal.
Oh, my goodness.
And we're at this meeting. Wow.
So you're actually falling behind. It's 11:10 with 6 minutes left now.
Oh, I can't. Can we just stay here for a while and listen?
So nope.
Lost it.
I lost it. Totally gone.
I thought that was only me.
Schools, 180 days, we were closed.
Gotcha, thank you.
Okay.
We need to continue, because this is not going away, this problem. We need to think about sanctioned alternatives for how we do this, because
Hallelujah.
How we do this what?
the lots of school
180
days.
Okay.
Because of how much momentum is lost in the classroom.
I agree.
You know, it's just, and then, you know, and I'm just talking from personal experience, you get somebody who's missed a week because and then they're sick and they lose even more time because during winter, everybody's getting sick. So you know, you got kids that are out of school for 2 weeks and just, you totally lose momentum. The idea, like, I think, was it Wednesday or Thursday that this building had electricity, but the elementary school didn't? You know, the idea of modified schedules that allow one building to go when another building doesn't go. I know there's contractual issues, but we got to be able to figure out a way to deal with that piece when it's only an electricity issue. When one building can be fully functioning, or some sort of, I mean, there are multiple models out there where classes, I mean, again, every single student, definitely in the high school and down into most of the middle school, has access to a computer that we provide. We've got to figure out a way that we're not at the whim of all the trees that have outgrown their life and then take down everything that we, you know, need to survive in a normal way. We've got to put a priority on thinking of alternative ways to deliver this.
You know, we talk about this all the time in our superintendents groups and other groups, and it's a real problem of inequities of who has the computer, who has power, who doesn't, who has internet, who doesn't, who has, you know, there are such things, they call them blizzard bags, where you send things home. That's a possibility, but it's always a question of the equity issue, and there is a contractual issue that has to be somehow figured out. We haven't got the answer yet, because when you, for example, when you have students at the high school go and the elementary students are home and the parents aren't home, often the parents rely upon the older kids in those situations to take care of the younger. I mean, there are just a number of complexities. That's not to say that we shouldn't be looking for some possible solutions, but I will say to you that there are many unintended consequences.
Because the idea of eventually there will be equity as far as if one campus is operational, the other one isn't, or sometimes the early part of the day is going to be the problem, and if you start the elementary school at 9 and you go 3-hour delay, it's already noon. So, I mean, there's, and it's going to balance itself off at some point because that's how weather works. I think we need to look at that, and I understand the common issue of being inconvenient for parents. I've got, you know, our job as a school district is to educate students, not be babysitters. So we need to, I mean, I know it's not a popular thing to say, and it's not a popular notion for parents because they count on it. I understand. I count on it, but, you know, at some point, we can't be responsible for that piece of the puzzle. We're doing our best to deliver what we need to, and there is an impact on the student if they're just at home because, you know, one building happens to not have power. And for the entire district, I think, you know, it happens all the time where one building is kind of taking up slack for another in a bunch of different ways. I think just something we need to not say we're going to think about, we really need to think about it. We're thinking differently in all kinds of things. We're starting later in the high school. We don't know what, I mean, the kind of impact is with some of the compression of the schedule now. And moving to block schedule in middle school, all these different thinking things, we need to not, you know, kind of overlook some of the other stuff that's kind of bigger.
Well, welcome aboard, Joe, because I think I mentioned this about 3 years ago.
It takes time.
It does take time. And so let me just review. There are school districts in New Hampshire that have somehow come up against all these roadblocks and work with the state ed department up there to somehow get these things through. They come up with percentages that are required to complete the work. I think it's 80% of the students must complete the work before they get credit for the day. I'm not sure if those places even have laptop programs like we have. I know the blizzard bag concept came from up there, and I think it's probably in about 20 years they'll mention that some people way back in the 20 teens said something about something like this, but it is long overdue. It's long overdue.
And I think we can always deal with the logistics. I think we can figure out. Watching these, nobody expected literally snow days in May, or school closing days in May. And there were districts that had no choice but to have 3 or 4 schools open and one stay closed, because they didn't know until 8 o'clock in the morning that the one was going to be closed. We work that out. We have professionals. We work those things out.
Girls are tied in overtime.
Yeah, they're tied with 52 seconds left.
I am
in
so
time.
mad about this meeting. You have no idea.
What
I
you
was
think of American
in-
Idol?
I was in Rockland County. I could see the field, and I had to come here. I love it here. And just since we're stalling to hear how the girls do, along the same lines, it is so difficult, and Dr. Wills, my hat goes off to you and all of the people that you talk to at 4 o'clock in the morning and at 9 o'clock at night and at 11 o'clock at night to make those decisions. But I think in this particular storm, when it wasn't just about power, but it was about road safety, I think we need some real communication with the Putnam County, not just Putnam Valley, but Putnam County Highway Department, some kind of, communication. Because sometimes we make decisions based on what we drive around, and we might say, yeah, it's fine, and then all of a sudden it's not, or vice versa.
I mean, I think there was so many of these complexities in this particular
Yes,
storm.
crazy.
And you could go through part of the district, but you couldn't get through another part. So then you're saying, okay, we're going to have the high school open, but kids from Mooring Brook, how are they going to get there? The road is closed. I mean, these are things you're constantly having to battle. I don't know. It's certainly something that Dr. Luft and I and the facilities director and Dave can talk about in terms of some opportunities. We'll certainly look at that.
Okay. Is there anything else from anybody?
I just wanted to confirm, because we're running into essentially our last board meeting of the year coming up. As far as any further update on later start, everything is in place with our contractors. We approved.
Everything's in place with the contractors, and we have schedules, and we are, frankly, the drop-off and we've gotten that report, so we have to see ultimately how, whether in fact the report and the contract information that we received on that first day, we will be able to see how we will move things along, move the buses to the end and so on. And I think Jeremy had some ideas on how some turnarounds could work.
I think we need to kind of make public and say this for the next couple meetings. Expect it to not go very smoothly the first week or two. I mean, because I think the idea that it's going to be a nightmare, and we need to accept that it could very well be that until we get our sea legs. Because I think it's all new, different, and up front it's going to be different because parents will probably do a lot more driving very early on and change the dynamic of what the traffic pattern will be. But if they get used to it, students will get a lot more used to it than any of the adults will. But, it should be not rosy picture. This is going to work out great from day one. I think it needs to be understood that this is going to be a real challenge. Our parking lot was not originally designed for that many buses, and so it's going to be a different situation. So it's going to be, please be patient. And I'm going to say that
I think
every
one of the
meeting.
things that we will do and we will commit to doing is having more people out on those first days than we ever had before. Okay, that will have to be something that we do in order to be able to maneuver and to be able to make decisions. But I do honestly believe that it will work out.
I think that we noted even during the day of the vote, I've gotten some communication from elementary school teachers that we've always cleared that parking area in front of the cafeteria for the voters. Teachers found it much harder this year parking. We forgot about all of the district offices are there now. So you had an additional 20 to 30 cars using spots that weren't there in previous years. So that caused a little fluke. There's definitely going to be some challenges, so I think we have
There
to.
will be challenges.
And then when, in your conversations with the Department of Transportation, what was the time frame for that intersection? Was that this summer, or is it just kind of when they get to it?
Yeah, right now they're essentially going house to house and making offers to purchase small swaths of land from owners. Maybe our meeting with the district was they were looking to purchase maybe 13 feet into the district line, which is still really the bottom of our driveway, for a certain amount of feet, and that it's an assessed value based upon federal regulations, and there was the whole thing. So I know that they sort of have to get everyone's approval to let that land go before they receive any of the federal funding they're looking for. So it did not sound like something that was happening
Anytime really soon.
Well, as long as they don't do construction the first day of school, that would almost be more disastrous than not.
But will they have like somebody out there directing, like sheriff or, I mean, I
Well,
think
that's why I said we will have more people out.
Right. I mean,
But
we're
out on the
looking
road.
at, these conversations are ongoing. I know there was, well, the traffic study told us one thing, but that we're still exploring options. I know I've had conversations with several people, including Mike and Dave Spittle, about changing the parking lot in the elementary school, really closing the distance between where the buses stage, which we're hoping allows us the opportunity to stripe another 2 rows of parking spaces within the parking lot, spaces that can be used all day long, even when the buses are there for staging. So that's something that we're hoping to do, which will alleviate some of the overcrowding there. We talked about maybe doing things differently on days where there's budget votes, so we can actually use that upper parking lot all day long. And at the high school, middle school campus, we're still exploring options to mitigate some of the traffic coming into the campus, whether it be dividing that first lane for drop-offs and for buses, or looking at other options, things that we can do without a massive expense associated with it, but something that we think will help alleviate. But we know it's going to be an issue. I agree with Joe. There's no way the first day of school is going to open and traffic's going to be flying through the parking lot. Students are looking for their spaces. Faculty's not used to it. Everyone's going to show up. There's going to be a lot of drop-offs. It's going to be, so anything we can do to be proactive to try to alleviate that, we're exploring all our options. We have to make sure it's something that's going to work and it's going to be safe, and we have staffing to make sure people are doing it. So those conversations will continue throughout the summer, and if we deem any changes necessary and appropriate, we'll try to have those in place before school
I mean,
opens.
I know we've got contract, but, you know, it would behoove the teachers to get here 15 minutes earlier than that start time, because then they get their spots and there's no issues. I know that it's a whole other story, but as far as practicality, if they got here 15 minutes earlier than when they do, based on the new schedule, that would make probably a big difference.
Okay. A lot going on. Going to be a busy summer. Okay, I would now like to resolve on recommendation of the superintendent of schools to convene an executive session for 8 matters of the employment history of 8 particular persons, after which time no further business will be conducted.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Good night, everyone.
Happy Memorial Day.
Happy Memorial Day, and good luck, girls. We're sending our energy to you.